That is a lot of laptops. So I've teamed up with Nvidia and Acer for the very first time to have every single RTX 40 series laptop GPU in the studio here at once. We've got everything from the Acer Nitro 5 with the RTX 4050 all the way up to this guy, the Predator Triton 17X with an RTX 4090, and everything in between. And later in the video, I'll show you side-by-side benchmarks so you can get an idea of the relative performance. Now, this is a sponsored video, to be clear, it's not a review, but all my tests, all my opinions are my own, and hopefully by the end of the video, if you are looking to upgrade to a brand spanking new laptop this year, you'll have a better idea which one is right for you. And if you do find it helpful, a cheeky like and subscribe would be amazing. Okay, so before we get to benchmarks, let's find out what we're dealing with here. Starting with a slightly more affordable option, this is the Acer Nitro 5. It will set you back around £1,000 or so, and it comes packing an RTX 4050 GPU. We also get 12th generation Intel processors, 1080p 15-inch screen, 144Hz high refresh rate, a little bit dimmer, the screen quality isn't quite as good as some of the higher end models, but still very good. Lovely keyboard, nice big trackpad, really good range of ports, including HDMI 2.1, which you don't see very often at this price point, and also Thunderbolt and RJ45. It's a little chunkier and heavier, and it uses less of the fancy materials that you'll see on the more expensive brothers of the Nitro 5 here, but I think for that price, with that GPU, this is still definitely worth considering. So the RTX 4050 gets you around the 3060 level of performance, but we do get all those extra 40 series goodies like DLSS 3 with frame generation, much better efficiency, and an AV1 encoder. Plus, with Nvidia's Dynamic Boost, this 4050 has a 140 watt max TGP, or what we're now calling MGP, a maximum graphics power, and also Nvidia Advanced Optimus Graphics Switching, aka a MUX switch. So this GPU in this laptop is really meant for 1080p 60 FPS gaming with high settings. Although obviously you can drop settings or turn on DLSS 3 in games that support it to get closer to maxing out that 144Hz refresh. The 6GB of VRAM may also suit 1080p, but I reckon long term the 4060 may actually be a better buy. So if you can stretch your budget a little bit further, perhaps you could consider jumping up to the Predator Helios Neo 16 with a 140 watt RTX 4060 GPU with 8GB of VRAM. And straight away you can tell this is a bit more premium from the quality of the screen, the components, the material used for the chassis. There's a lot more aluminium. It does feel like quite a nice step up. And also we do have 13th generation Intel CPUs, including the HX series of chips. So we're talking 55 watt TGP CPUs there, which is pretty impressive. You don't tend to see that often on laptops at this price point. And also as usual with Acer laptops, we have a ton of I/O all at the back here, so your cables are nice and hidden, including an HDMI 2.1, a couple of Thunderbolt 4 ports, and also on the side we have an RJ45 and a couple of regular USB-As. The display comes with either Full HD Plus or Quad HD Plus resolutions, and we have this taller 16:10 aspect ratio, which I do much prefer, and also a higher 165Hz refresh rate. Plus also the colors and the panel itself are a bit higher quality. The Helios Neo 16 also allows us for overclocking the CPU thanks to improved cooling with Acer's 5th generation Aeroblade 3D fans. We also have their liquid metal thermal grease and also dedicated heat pipes. And like the Nitro Sense on the Nitro laptops, this Predator Sense app lets you control the performance in the fans. So the RTX 4060 in here is still definitely a 1080p card, but it's going to be much easier to get those higher 144, 165Hz refresh rates and also at higher settings. Also, for a bit of fun, Acer's added this little encrypted cipher on the lid of the Helios Neo 16 here. Apparently, it's fairly easy to figure out. I obviously got the answer straight away, but I'm not going to tell you. You have to figure that out for yourself. Maybe don't buy it just for that reason alone, but it is a nice little extra. Or for similar money, you could consider this, the Acer Nitro 16. This is the bigger brother to the Nitro 5 and comes with an 8GB 140 watt RTX 4070. So again, we are dropping down a little bit in the build quality, the premium aesthetics of it, but it is packing a 4070 and it doesn't cost an absolute fortune. And if size really does matter to you, then you could consider its bigger brother, the Nitro 17. And so the Nitro 16 and 17 pack in either Intel or AMD CPUs. We also have a PCIe 4 SSD RAID 0 option, Full HD Plus or Quad HD Plus 165Hz displays, and we also get liquid metal thermal grease on the CPU and dual fan cooling. A great range of ports, as usual, and advanced Optimus graphics switching to save power when you're on battery. A quick side note, but these advanced Optimus graphics switchings, the Mux switch, were kind of more limited to the higher end laptops, gaming laptops in the last few generations. Now we're seeing them on a lot more sort of mainstream or less flagship tier models, which is great because you're not always gaming on your gaming laptop. Sometimes you're just watching Netflix or doing an essay or writing or anything like that. So having that ability to turn off the discrete GPU and either use it in hybrid mode or purely the integrated graphics means you can actually get some decent battery life out of these pretty hefty gaming laptops. But let's talk about this RTX 4070, which is really designed for gaming at high refresh 1080p, so 240, maybe even 360 Hz, or Quad HD at 60 or 144, especially if you're playing a game with DLSS 3 and enjoying the extra boost in performance. Plus, there's a little bit more headroom here for RT effects. Stay tuned for those benchmarks, which are coming very soon, but if I was going to go out and buy a gaming laptop now, I think the 4070 is kind of like the sweet spot. But it all depends on your budget and the laptop model you go for. Now for my next laptop, well, actually I have two laptops. This is the Predator Helios 16, and this is his big brother, the 18. They share the same specs, same cooling, all that good stuff, just a couple of different screen sizes for you. And these guys are a step up from the Acer Helios Neo 16 in terms of having even more premium materials. They look and feel a little bit classier. We also get more advanced cooling, and they're equipped with a 12GB of VRAM RTX 4080 with a max MGP, so maximum graphics power, of 175 watts. These things are gaming beasts. This is a high-end card and is more than a match for 1440p at 144 or 240Hz with ultra settings, and in my view, it's the first proper card where 4K could also be an option. These two also come with a couple of very tasty display options in the form of either a 240Hz IPS QHD Plus display or a 1000 nit, 1000 dimming zone, 250Hz mini LED display, which is also available on the Triton 17X, which we'll come to in a second, and looks absolutely incredible. These guys also come with Intel i7 and i9HX series CPUs, up to 32 gigs of RAM and 2 terabytes of storage in RAID 0, and of course, tons of connectivity. Plus, you can overclock them via the Predator Sense app. I mean, just have a look at this. 18-inch, 16:10, so it's a little bit taller than your average 16:9. It is an incredibly massive display and really awesome for that sort of immersive gaming factor. Obviously a little bit bigger, you're gonna feel this in your backpack if you're carrying it around all day. You do have that more portability, convenience with a smaller 16, but if you want a big screen and you're not outputting to an external display, it's nice to have the option. And last but not least, the top dog. This is the Acer Predator Triton 17X. The X suffix means they're pushing the boundaries a little bit, they're being a bit more experimental, and this is an incredible gaming laptop. Not just the fact that it comes with an RTX 4090, also with a 175 watt MGP like the 4080, but it also comes with 16GB of VRAM. But you may be thinking, hang on Tom, why is this so, well, relatively thin and light? It's not a chunky boy like some of the other laptops. Well, with the Triton 17X, you're not just paying for that high-end hardware, but also this form factor, this thinner and lighter chassis. We have incredibly high materials. It is an aluminium unibody. We also have a big old vapor chamber cooler in here, and also 3 of their 5th generation Aeroblade fans, which creates this what they call vortex design. So the cooling in here is properly next level. So they can afford to make it a little bit thinner and lighter, but you're still getting that high level, top of the line performance. And all this means this is actually a lot thinner than the others, but with the same connectivity and features like advanced Optimus switching. Go with the Intel i9 and it's got 24 cores. We also have a 17-inch QHD Plus 1000 nit mini LED display with a 250Hz refresh rate. It's also packing 64 gigs of DDR5 RAM, up to 2 terabytes of storage, again in RAID 0, and as I say, best of all, an RTX 4090. And this really is designed to give you the best laptop gaming experience. Whether you're playing at Full HD 360Hz, maybe Quad HD 240, or even 4K 144. And of course, it's all best served with DLSS, frame gen, and ray tracing. So that is the lineup. All very impressive laptops, each with their own strengths, but at the core of each one of these, we have an RTX 40 series laptop GPU from Nvidia. And according to Nvidia, with this new Ada Lovelace architecture, we're looking at 3 times the efficiency versus previous generations. And also we get some of those very tasty Nvidia extras. And if you're a regular on the channel, you'll know my favorite is, of course, DLSS. And so with the 40 series, we now have DLSS 3, the latest generation. And as you'll know, if you've tried DLSS, it can give you a huge frame rate boost while maintaining image quality. And this 3rd generation is exclusive to these 40 series cards. Essentially, it's rendering the game at a lower internal resolution, but then using Nvidia's advanced AI and deep learning to then upscale it back to native resolution, which can be a whole lot more efficient and therefore boost your frame rate. It's kind of like free extra performance, why not? But wait, there's more, because exclusive to DLSS 3 is Nvidia's new frame generation technology, which is itself a huge leap, and actually in some games, it can actually double my performance. And this also uses AI to add a whole new frame between two regular rendered frames and means, in the games that support it, even higher frame rates. However, while it has nigh on doubled my FPS in some games, like Flight Sim, in other titles it is a smaller boost. And also the only compromise is it can add to the system latency, which is why any game that does support frame gen also requires Nvidia Reflex, which itself is also available for all recent RTX cards. So Reflex is pretty straightforward. It's where the game and the GPU work together to reduce that system latency. So say the time between clicking the mouse or pressing a key on the keyboard and you're gun firing or you're reloading in the game. And it can make a life or death difference. And actually what I have found over the last year or so with these more powerful laptop GPUs is that it's less about the frame rate and the refresh rate of the screens these days and a lot more about that system latency. That can often be the bottleneck now, particularly for those twitchy competitive shooters. And then there is ray tracing, which has been around for a few years now and can add much more realistic lighting and shadows to games, although it does come at the cost of some performance. And particularly with the 40 series cards, where we have 3rd generation RT cores and also the help of DLSS 3 to help make up that performance overhead. So now I do regularly play my games with ray tracing turned on. For example, Cyberpunk 2077 looks incredible, and it's more than playable now even on a mid-range card, and ray tracing in Fortnite looks great as well. But of course, gaming laptops aren't just for gaming. You can utilize the performance in these guys for your productivity and work tasks. For me, it's video editing and rendering, and they all come with AV1 encoders. And if you're not sure what AV1 is, it's kind of like an alternative, more efficient codec to H.265. And actually, exclusive to the RTX 4080 and 4090, we have dual AV1 encoders. So even better performance for your rendering, exports, and even your streaming. 40 series cards, as well as last gen 30 series, also get RTX Video Super Resolution, or VSR, and this takes lower resolution video streams and uses AI smarts and deep learning to upscale to full, crisp 4K video. And then finally, behind the scenes, we have Nvidia's Max-Q technology, which is kind of like their suite for balancing performance and battery life and acoustics, stuff you don't really have to worry about, but it all adds up to make Nvidia GPUs the best in the market for laptops right now. Okay, I've made you wait long enough. Let's test these properly. Let me show you some benchmarks. And starting with Cyberpunk with RT set to Ultra, balanced DLSS and frame gen on, I still managed a very impressive 76 FPS at 1080p on the Nitro 5 with its RTX 4050. The 4060 in the Helios Neo 16 was around 40% faster, with just as big of a jump going to the 4070, but it was the 4080 and 4090 that really pushed those ultra high frame rates. Moving up to 1440p on the laptops that support it, I still got 71 FPS with the 4060, a 21% boost with the 4070, and well over 100 FPS with the 4080, which actually wasn't far off the 4090 score. Next up, Diablo 4, and even at ultra settings, it's massively playable at over 130 FPS on the 4050, and that's even without DLSS 3 or frame gen. Switch them on, and I'm easily maxing out that 144Hz refresh. And it's a similar story with all the GPUs, with very high frame rates between 150 and 300, with the 4080 and 4090 running away with the high scores at both resolutions. Interestingly though, I didn't really find DLSS or frame gen made that much of a difference here. In Forza Horizon 5, again with ultra settings, I was averaging just over 100 FPS with the Nitro 5's 4050 at 1080p, which is very impressive by itself, although I reckon it's the 4080 returning the best bang for buck overall. Also, frame gen does much better here, adding anywhere between 15 to 45% extra frames at 1440p, where the 4060 was averaging well over 100 FPS. And finally, firing up Old Faithful, a bit of Rainbow Six Siege, and ultra settings of course, although this does run the older DLSS 2, and I'm still getting huge frame rates, over 240 FPS with the 4050. In fact, even the 4060 is enough to max out a 240Hz screen at Quad HD, and you don't even need DLSS. And I also got solid results in my synthetic benchmark tests, meaning there's power here for both gaming and, well, everything else as well. So there we have it. Hopefully that was helpful, and now you have a bit of a better idea of what kind of laptop you're going to go for, and of course it all does depend on the gamers you play. If you do fancy checking out any of these guys, I will leave links in the description below. And of course, a big thank you to Nvidia and Acer for working with me on this video, making it possible. It is kind of tricky normally to get 5 laptops in the studio at the same time, and if you've got any questions about these guys, drop a comment below. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, a subscribe would be fantastic, and I'll see you next time right here on the Tech Chat. Boom, 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 boom. Okay, sorry about that.